Hello everyone, Alex back with another image review session. This one is a bit more of a mixed bag. I think this is some of the ones that are sort of there's a mixture of stuff. So there's quite a few. I'll sort them by date created. I think that might make it a bit easier to understand. So there's some really old pictures at the top. One from 2011, one from 2017. Then there's a couple from Canada, and I think I've processed a number of these top ones, when I was testing the backscatter exterminator, and I went back through my archives to look for some pictures that had annoying backscatter to see how it would deal with them. And so, yeah, these first few were, I remember particularly these Malibis were very backscattery. So that's why those are processed. Then I'm just catching up with some processing from the last year or so. This Raja Ampat picture, and then I don't know why that's come up there on timing wise, because that's a relatively recent picture. Anyway, there's a Galapagos picture, a Philippines picture, and then it's back into Raja Ampat. Some Lembeh shots to finish. So just to give you a clue on what's coming up. This first photo though is from 2011, so quite a long time ago, taken in Little Cayman, and it's a very poor picture of a Nassau grouper and a diver. The central part of this picture is quite nice, but I think that actually what happened is someone had seen this picture somewhere and wanted to use it, I think on a magazine cover, and I was like, oh, if you want it, you can have it. And so I reprocessed it for them, because that, I can't remember, it was going to be used somewhere really big actually. I think so I processed this out at high resolution, even though it was shot, I think, with the D700, so a 12 megapixel camera, but I've processed it out at kind of 8,000 pixels. Yeah, so someone must have been using it somewhere and wanted to use a shot, so I reprocessed it for them. That's why it's sitting in here. I should probably put a little. Oh, it doesn't matter, but yeah, I probably should mark it with a reprocessing sign on the file name to explain why there's two versions of it in my library. Okay, next up is this was definitely a backscatter exterminator test shot. I remember this was on a very murky day shooting great hammerheads. You can see Vinny from Epic Diving there. You can see how much crud there is in the water. There's still a little bit of mark of all that in the sides. And I basically took a picture that was complete junk and garbage. It was a nice close hammerhead pass, but the water column was just a murk of backscatter. And this was just to test the software. And it turned a total wasted photo into something that's really very, very usable now. It's not perfect image quality. I don't think it would ever pretend it was, but it really is completely usable and would print really well. And paper would hide a lot of that texture anyway. Now we're going to Canada. There's a couple of shots from Canada, 3 shots from Canada. This is a weird little fish that I saw on a night dive in Canada. This is called a northern ronquil. I forget what type of fish it is. But yeah, this was on a night dive there, and I think this one was a bit scattery. I think it was one of those ones where it was a cool fish, but it was in someone's fin wake, so it was just full of bits. And again, this was just to test the backscatter exterminator. This photo of Malibis was also in very murky water and was full of just spots everywhere, right across all the subject matter of the picture. And again, backscatter exterminator turned a photo that was just useless into one that is really nice and really pretty, and I really like, and I love all the detail in the Malibis. I mean, they're just fantastic nudibranchs with all this detail in them, and to be able to get all that out of the shot and clean up all the backscatter in just a few clicks really is remarkable. This was shot with the 8-15mm, but on a mini dome, so probably the corners are a bit naughty, but there's not much in the corners, so I can't really show you that. But shot with a 100mm dome. This is on the same dive actually, I think, but I was struggling to get anything clean of those Malibis, so I thought the best thing I can do is to basically have as little water around me as possible, and one way to achieve that is to go super shallow. So I went up into the shallows and shot this ochre starfish and the trees above. It was a very, very beautiful dive, but the murkiness of the water, even at this shallow depth, stops this picture being as beautiful as I remember the dive. With the trees just looked amazing through the surface, but there was just too much murk in the water to really capture a super sharp view through the surface to the trees. But nonetheless, I like the shot. It's not a bad shot. Okay, back into Raja Ampat now. And this is shot with the Nikonos 13mm fisheye. As I've explained before, that lens reports itself to the EXIF as a 50mm f1.8, but that's to do with Isaac's conversion. It's not. It's obviously a fisheye lens in reality, as you can see from the angular view. And this is a horde of golden goatfish coming and beating up the reef, and the rather forlorn looking coral grouper in the middle of this shot. This is the resident predator of this particular bit of reef, and he felt rather overwhelmed by all these predators coming in. You can see joining the goatfish, there's two Napoleon wrasse. There's one here and there's one disappearing around this side. And as they moved away, so the grouper chased them off, but while they were all around his coral head, he didn't do very much and just sat there. Okay, over to Galapagos now. This is a picture taken with the FCP, and it's just a spotted eagle ray cruising past, and just one of the dive group being blown down the reef in the current, as is typical in Galapagos, with this amazing fish cruising past. I quite like this shot with the diver in the background. It's not what you go there to get, but pictures like this are actually very useful from a publishing point of view, and pictures like this do very well in the stories, because a magazine would much rather show you a great animal and show you someone enjoying seeing it than just the great animal on its own. So yeah, useful shot to have processed out. And then a pickup shot from Anilao in the Philippines of just a porcelain crab. I think there's a 3-lobe one, this one. Oh, with eggs, but you can really just see them. On a sea pen. If you've watched a recent video on here, you'll have seen the commensals video, and I had loads of sea pen shots like this, and this is just one from Anilao that I think, having processed out all those pictures from Komodo, it was fun to just add one to the mix from Anilao. This is a pink-eye goby from Raja Ampat. They're always cool creatures to see. Oh, sorry, zoom in on him. Pink-eye gobies. Really nice pattern. I like the shallow depth of field on this one with the separation of that coral behind. And I like the quirky composition with this kind of pointing in from the top corner. You wouldn't want your first photo of one of these like this, but this is just a bit of fun. And actually, for magazine usage, a shot like this can actually be really quite fun for them. Put that across 2 pages, put some other pictures maybe, and certainly some text over the top of it, and it becomes a really nice double-page spread. This is a picture of a clingfish inside a crinoid. I like this view with the macro subject relatively small in the frame. I don't think this is a perfect composition, but I love how the outer focus elements of the crinoid look, and I really love how the clingfish looks. He's super, super smart in the background of this shot. And I'm just not convinced about the central composition of this one. I think I would have enjoyed this more with the clingfish maybe in the corner of a horizontal shot or something like that. But I think that actually these tentacles were moving quite fast, and I basically only got one clear shot of the clingfish before arms started covering this gap, and I couldn't get the shot anymore. And I love the gold in the middle of this, I have to say. That's what I meant to say as well. I love how sharp he looks, but I love this golden glow coming out of the middle of the picture. It would be even cooler, I guess, if you darkened it down around the edges, and that was kind of the brightest part of the image rather than the arms being just as bright. This is a coral grouper hiding and peeking out. It wasn't the shot I was after. I wanted the grouper looking round the side of the coral. But actually, I think a lot of people said they really liked this shot, and they liked the hiding behaviour in it when I've shown it. So yeah, I've processed it out because other people like it. It was one of the situation where it wasn't the shot I was after, and I found it a bit of a disappointing shot. But other people told me how much they liked the fact it was peeking around the corner, and so yeah, I've processed it out for that reason. Some more typical Raja Ampat wide angle here with some lithophyton soft corals, some Scleranthia soft coral, and a big Melothea sea fan, with these nice dark cliffs of the reef behind, giving a nice wide angle scene. Lots of fish in the water. Probably lacks a star subject, this shot. It's a perfectly nice wide angle. A big angelfish in the middle of that shot, or a slightly more attractive coral combination. All three of these main bits of coral are a little bit drab. I think this could be really, really nice. It's perfectly good. It's perfectly nice put together shot, but yeah, just a little bit quiet. This is a bank of they look like Ternate damselfish to me, Ternate chromis, I mean, pulling out their way out of the reef. It obviously goes into blue-green chromis further back in the school, so loads and loads of little fish, and coming out of all this lovely acropora branching coral at the bottom. I think the picture lacks a bit of oomph, this shot. It's a bit too dominated by ambient light. I think there's a lot of detail going on here, but all the detail tends to blend into each other. The hard corals tend to blend into each other. The fish tend to blend into each other. And I think this would probably be better shot maybe at a different time of day, maybe with a longer lens slightly. I guess I probably had the 13mm fisheye on for this. Yeah, I think if I had the FCP on, I could have maybe backed up a little bit, zoomed in a bit, compressed the thing. So I like this shot, but I think it could be better. I think it's a shot that I look at and go, yeah, I think there's a better shot to be had in that situation. Little Gorgonian shrimp in amongst the arms of a Anella sea fan. Really cool little beasts, these guys. Quite common, quite widespread. You often get them as bycatch in shots of sea fans. They're often there sitting between the arms of the sea fan, and they pop up in the shots that way. A golden damselfish, can never resist photographing these. Very handsome fish, very confiding fish, very easy to photograph. And this one here, I made the effort to frame him against the blue. And the reason I've processed this one is I really like the background. I could have easily filled the frame with this guy, but I chose just to shoot him from a little bit further away. Get him, so easy enough to fill the frame with. I mean, I've got tons of megapixels, so I could easily crop and fill the frame. But I like this background with these kind of just all these fish in the water as well. And yeah, I think it could probably benefit from a 10-15% crop, actually. But I wouldn't crop it heavily. And I'm happy to have it, for sale online like this, because often the end user, from a stock sale or something, maybe will crop this shot anyway. So it's good to give them the flexibility. They could even crop it into a vertical. There's so much resolution in these files these days. It gives lots of flexibility. This is Gorgonian Passage in Raja Ampat. Lovely visibility on this day. Beautiful Gorgonians. This is a big Anella mollusk sea fan with all these layers and layers of fan, which is just really cool to see. Fantastic to have just so many layers of fan. It was just a really, really amazing piece of sea fan. So I had to sort of process this out. I'm trying to see if I can spot a Gorgonian shrimp or something. But I think it's just a bit too far away really to see them on the sea fan. But yeah, I really like that fan just being so dense, so pristine looking. They grow pretty fast, I think, in Gorgonian Passage. So every time I dive there, it always seems to be different fans are the key ones to photograph. And I like the depth and the feeling of layers that the background gives here, both these underwater layers of the reef and the above water layer from the land. I think all of those give a really nice feel to the shot. This is at Four Kings dive site, black manta coming in over the reef. This was in a howling current, and we were really pinned down on the dive. It was very hard to move around, but the mantas were coming in really close as a result. So I like this shot. It's not a perfect composition. I think I'd like the manta maybe to be going the opposite direction, maybe a little bit more separated from this Muricella sea fan. But doubt there's any pygmies on there. Let's not get distracted, Alex. Of this Muricella sea fan, shot with the FCP, but I remember didn't have a lot of flexibility in that current to do any zooming. The previous one was shot with the Nikonos, and this is the FCP. Now a photo of Jamie, who's the model in this one, and a green turtle taken in the lagoon at Missoul Resort. Just fun. The turtles there are super friendly. You can swim up to them, enjoy spending time with them, shoot them with different lenses. And yeah, this is just nice to be able to have this shot to share it with Jamie, really, I think. Okay. There's one more from Raja, and then there's some Lembeh ones to finish with. So this is a night dive in Missoul on the house reef. I think I went in just for a quick dive, just to do a little bit of coral fluorescence. And this is shot with the Nikonos 15mm fisheye. I really like that lens for coral fluorescence because it's quite a bit wider, but you can set it up to focus nice and close, and you can capture all these things. And obviously, because it's water contact, you can shoot it at quite an open aperture, which helps to get the light levels out of these corals when shooting fluorescent shots. So yeah, it's a good combo. It's almost like you're using it as a super wide macro lens. Botrytis sea squirt, colonial tunicate or sea squirt. Just making really, really pretty patterns. This is in Lembeh. You'll often find little rocks and stones covered in this stuff, and you just look for areas with really pleasing patterns in them to create interesting compositions. And obviously what you're trying to do is find an area that you can get corner to corner, as flat as possible, so you can get it all in focus, and just really celebrate the color and the pattern in the picture. This is a wild coral shrimp. It's sometimes known as a Zanzibar coral shrimp. I think it's always silly to name species after places. We just had the Ternate damselfish. Ternate is a small island in Alor, but it's also the name of that damselfish that covers a huge area. Zanzibar is a small island off Tanzania, and this shrimp is obviously found in many more places than there. I don't think it's overly useful scientific information to know it was first found in Zanzibar. But anyway, a red-faced wrasse, just a common little fairy wrasse. This one's a male in the shallows in Lembeh. Very common fish in Lembeh. You never ever see anyone take a picture of one. So I was feeling sorry for them that day. I thought, there's so many fish here in Lembeh. Everyone comes home with a picture of a seahorse or a frogfish or whatever it is, but hardly anyone has a picture of a red-faced wrasse. So I thought I would give the red-faced wrasse his dues and shoot just a nice clean portrait of this guy. Shot at f7, just to get that separation with the background. A slower exposure of a 50th to burn in that blue and give the picture some separation. A cool little juvenile banded sea pipefish on a blackwater dive, and another night dive shot. This time a EMWL shot of a stargazer. I do like shooting the EMWL at night, but I think what I need to do more is use background lighting to create more depth in these shots. I like the shots and they're really cool as a kind of a wide macro shot, but I just feel that it just seems to lack something without a bit of background. So I'd like to start to use a bit more additional lighting in the backgrounds of these shots, just to liven them up a little bit as much as anything. Some more EMWL shots from Lembeh. I think these three were all processed to check the backscatter exterminator shot software, because on this particular dive, I think probably at Air Badjo, it was horrible visibility. All the pictures are backscatter city, so it was fun to see what the software could do with them. This is a what's he called? A scarlet frogfish, a black coloured, obviously scarlet frogfish, sitting on some sponges. And then a giant frogfish, not giant frogfish, this is actually it looks like a giant frogfish, but it's actually a painted frogfish, on the move, on the sand. You can see how murky the water is. The dive is not very far away, but you can hardly see them, and I think I've done some processing so you can see them a little bit better. They're doing a brilliant job modelling, but in that visibility, even with the EMWL 160, you're just not seeing them at all. You could only just see them in reality. And this is one of him fishing as well. You can see this shot's got a little bit of movement blur in as well. And yeah, I don't think the software has done a completely perfect job on this one, but it's still interesting. I really like how the lure looks in this picture. Just the rest of the picture is a bit of a mess. So that's why I processed this one out. A coconut octopus in its shell, looking huge. I do like this bug eye view of them. It just looks like this is what you kind of expect, a small little nudibranch crawling along the sand. This is how the octopus must look to it. So I love that viewpoint, and it's a fun shot. I don't think it's as clear as to what you're looking at. I think particularly this camouflage or this coloration of the octopus through its eye, I think it's quite effective in making it quite hard to figure out what you're looking at here. It kind of definitely hides the eye. It makes the eye feel more of a stripe than an eye. Anyway, Let's move along. And another EMWL shot. I think that's the last one. Yeah, to finish, which is a bunch of these porcelain 3-lobe porcelain crabs in amongst a soft coral. There's tons and tons of them in this photo. It's technically not as good a shot as it could be. I think that there is potential for a really strong shot of this idea, but it really needs all the porcelain crabs to be really well positioned. Like, this one is just not well enough positioned to be the main feature of the picture. This one, you don't really get any, you can't see, but this one, you don't really get any connection with it. This one, again, it's like half hiding. It's not really good. These ones here, these don't really connect. This one's kind of clashing. So I think if you got all the details absolutely right with one of these, it would be a really cool shot. The problem is that actually this was shot on 1/10 of a second. It's really hard to keep the camera still at 1/10 of a second and get all those things right and get the focus right and everything else. And so I think I would definitely go back and try this shot more next time I find more of these soft corals loaded with porcelain crabs. This one's a really nice one, but yeah, he's a bit small and not well placed for to be the star of the show. So I like this shot, but I'd say work in progress as an idea. I think there's a great shot to come if I can get all those details right. So hopefully that was an interesting look through a bit of an eclectic mix, and I'll be back again soon with another one of these image review sessions.